Welcome to episode number 2 of Style Studies, my new monthly series where I walk you through a popular lettering style and include free printable and Procreate practice sheets so you can follow along. This month's episode is brought to you by Creative Market, the world's marketplace for design. Creators from around the world create easy-to-use design assets, including templates, graphics, fonts, and a whole lot more that will help your next creative project come to life. Check out their free Goods of the Week and pick up other high-quality assets by visiting ilove.creativemarket.com/everytuesday. That's ilove.creativemarket.com/everytuesday. Make sure you use that link so they know that I sent you. So let's jump into episode number 2, the simple script. So in this month's episode, we are talking about the simple script style. And before we dive into practicing each style every month, I'm going to give you a quick style overview. That way you know when you should use this type of style, what it feels like, and how to pair it with other styles. So all these things would be really helpful. If you have a project and you're searching for a style, you can just pull one of these out and you'll know exactly what to do. So for the simple script, what you'll need if you are practicing this on paper, you need any type of fine liner pen. My recommendation is a Micron. I also have an Arteza fine liner, and Tombow makes a really nice fine liner as well. And then if you're practicing this in Procreate, I recommend either my mono weight brush, which is totally free. I'll leave a link in the video description to that, or my mono marker. That's one of my favorite mono weight brushes in Procreate. It's part of my Font Lovers Procreate lettering brushes, which I will also leave a link to right in the video description. So for sample pairings, you can see on the right side, you always want to make sure that you have contrast between the different styles that you choose to pair. And when it comes to contrast, there's a bunch of different ways you can find contrast. You can find it in the weight of your style. You can find it in the types of styles that you pair together. And you can find it in the sizes of your styles that you pair together. So you can see I've got a couple very simple pairings. So the very first one is a bold sans serif caps. So this is a very different style than the simple script, and it's bold. So we're finding contrast in two different places by the weight of the different styles and the styles themselves. So you can see that there's really good contrast between the style and the weight, and you can see that the primary text is much larger than the secondary text. So the simple script is our secondary text here, so we want to make sure whatever our primary text is stands out as much as possible. That's why it's bold, that's why it's all caps, and that's why it's a different style as well. So in the second example, you can see the primary text is our simple script this time, so we've made it bold so it stands out, and it is much larger than the regular serif, which is our secondary text. So you can see we've got really good contrast between the style and the weight and the size of our different styles. So those are some go-to sample pairings that you can use anytime that you're planning applications with the simple script. So the feeling of the simple script is very friendly and approachable, and because it's friendly and approachable, it makes it extremely versatile for different types of applications. So it's excellent for greeting cards, branding, invitations, packaging. The list can really go on. So now that we've gone over our style overview, let's jump into practicing this style. Okay, so we're just going to jump into lettering out this style. I'm going to show you how I practice on the printable practice sheets first, and then we'll hop into Procreate for everything else. I'll just give you a basic overview of the printed ones right here, and then you'll see me letter out everything in Procreate, just because it's a little easier to see on screen since I can zoom in really clearly on exactly what I'm doing on the iPad. So if you prefer to practice traditionally with pen and paper, all you want to do is print out the practice sheets and then grab some tracing paper, or you can set this on a light box and put a sheet of regular paper right on top. So I got my favorite tracing paper right here. I'll leave a link to that in the video description, and just line it up over your lettering and then you're good to go. My favorite fine liners to practice the style with are the Microns. This one's an 05 size. You can see it's got a really hard tip, which is exactly what we want. We don't want any change in stroke weight whenever we're applying pressure. So fine liners are the way to go with this style. This is the Tombow monoline. This is the mono drawing pen. So you can see it looks really similar to the Micron, so I love both of those. And then finally, the Arteza fine liner is also a really great pen to use for this type of style. So I'll just use this Arteza since I've already got it opened up. And when you jump into your uppercase, you just want to make sure that you're keeping all of your letters upright. It's really easy to get into a habit of them becoming more and more slanted the more you practice. So that's a really obvious beginner's mistake. So pay attention to how upright your letters are. Since it's a regular style, you want to make sure that they're upright. On italicized styles, that's when it's okay to add that slant, but this is a regular style, so we're keeping things upright. Another thing you want to be aware of is letters that are similar. So you can see the P and the R right here. You want to make sure the oval part of the letter is really consistent width-wise. That will make your entire style feel consistent overall. So I'm just going to come in here. So you can see how the tracing paper works with your guide underneath it. And if you want to see how everything looks, you just can grab a plain sheet of paper or flip over your printed guide and you can preview how everything looks. So that is how I recommend practicing with the printed versions. So now we're going to hop into Procreate on the iPad and you'll see me letter out all of the different practice sheets that came along with this video. Okay, so for the Procreate file, which you can find right in the video description, you can download this file right there. Once you open it up in Procreate, you'll see we've got the title page, so you'll always know when it's in your gallery. You can find this file really easily by the title page. So you just want to come into your layers over here and you can turn off your title page really easily. Just uncheck the box. And then you've got your style overview built into the Procreate file, so you also have that information if you ever need to refer to it in the future within Procreate. So I'm going to uncheck that. And then we've got our different practice sheets. We've got uppercase, lowercase, and numbers, practice words, and then I've also included the guide sheet. So if you don't want to practice any of these and you just want to practice some words, you've got your guide sheet right here that you can practice on as much as you would like. So we're going to start with the uppercase. And if I toggle it down, just this group right here, you can see I've got all of the characters on their own layer right here. And then there's a layer right above it called use this layer. This is the layer that you want to letter on. If you want to keep lettering after you've lettered on this layer and you want to keep having different versions of practice attempts, all you have to do is create a new layer right above it by hitting the plus up here and then just turn off the work that you've previously done on the use this layer. So hopefully that makes sense. So I'm going to delete this layer, but that's how you can use this an endless, infinite amount of time. So it's really handy and it saves a lot on paper if you are an iPad user. So we're going to hop into the uppercase first. I've got my mono marker selected. This is part of my Font Lovers Procreate brush set. I'll leave a link right in the video description to these. So I've got my mono marker selected, which is a mono weight brush. This style is really perfect for beginners because you don't have to worry about pressure at all on your downstrokes or your upstrokes because it's totally mono weight. So it's a really good place to start if you are just getting into hand lettering or if you'd like to just add on some simpler styles to your arsenal. So we're just going to come in here and I'm going to speed up the video, but at least then you'll be able to watch my hand movements and how I form each one of these letters. I'm making sure if you missed the first episode of Style Studies, I'll leave a link in the video description to that. I go over all the guides and what all of these mean. So if you're not aware of that already, go reference episode 1 and you'll be all set. So I'm just going to get started and I'll speed up the video. Okay, so there are all the uppercase simple script characters. If we want to preview what that looks like without the guides behind them, all we have to do is turn off this even space guide template right here, and we can turn off our lettering guide as well right here. And now we can see our lettering exactly as we drew it. Okay, so moving on, I'm going to turn the guides back on. I'm going to collapse my uppercase group and just turn it off. And now I'm going to turn on lowercase and numbers, toggle this down, choose use this layer. And now I'm going to letter all of these ones out. My size of my mono marker brush is right at 25%. Okay, so those are our lowercase characters. So with your lowercase, you're paying really close attention to wherever you have the oval, which we talked about in episode 1. You can see it in the G, you can see it in the P, the O, the Q. We want to make sure that these ovals are all consistent. You can see my Q's a little squished right here. I wish it were more open like my P. So that's something that I'll focus on as I practice more in the future. Same thing with your compound curve. You can see it in the H right here and in the N right here. You just want to make sure that those shapes are consistent. When you zoom out and you look at everything as a whole, you want to make sure that it feels really consistent with the angle that your letters are at on top of the width of all of your letters. Turn on my practice words. So I've thrown these in just for extra practice in real situations with real words instead of just free floating letters. So if you toggle down this group, you can see we've got another use this layer. So I'm just going to letter out all of these different words. And this is a really great way to warm up your hand. If you don't want to warm up with just the individual letters, this is a really great way to just introduce that muscle memory before you decide to letter out your own words using this style. Okay, so there are all of our practice words. And whenever you are creating your own practice words outside of tracing over, you just want to make sure that everything looks really consistent and balanced and evenly spaced. And you also want to take a look at your widths. And longer words like congratulations right here are a really great way to check out the widths of your letters and how consistent they are. So I'm looking at the width of my U. Does it feel very similar to my N, because the N is kind of an upside down U? And we're looking at the A's, the different A's that are in here. How consistent do those feel? How consistent do the T's feel? Does everything feel upright? So there are a bunch of little check boxes that you can kind of mentally check off as you're looking at your different words. And the more you practice, you'll get to a point where all this will be trained muscle memory and you won't even have to think about it anymore, and everything will be evenly spaced and all of your widths will be proportional. So that is our simple script style. If you enjoyed this video and would like to be notified of new Style Studies episodes in the future, there's a new one every single month. Make sure you hit the like button, subscribe, and make sure you tap that bell icon and you'll be notified of all the new Style Studies. Once again, the links to everything mentioned within this video are right in the video description, so just click in there and you can have access to everything, including the free downloads of these practice sheets. If there's a style that you'd like to see in a future episode, please leave a comment and let me know, and I will make sure I put it on my list. For more design and lettering tutorials and freebies, be sure to head on over to my site, every-tuesday.com. You can also find me over on Instagram. My handle is everytuesday. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you next week.